Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome to another session of our Day One and Beyond series, where we take you through various topics and activities related to building out on Oracle Cloud. Our today's session will cover Oracle Cloud Observability and Management and the Customer Advantage, the OCI O&M solutions and services available today, what's planned next, some advantages customers have, and how easy it is to get started. I'd like to introduce Stephen and David as the main presenters. And with that, I will hand it over to David.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And what we're going to talk about today is we have a couple different pieces. And the first one is for us to give you a little idea about some of the strategy and what the advantages, customers have with observability and management. And then we'll dive into a little bit deeper into what the observability and management solutions and services are and what's available today. And then take it and put a different lens on and look at how certain customers are using these services to benefit their businesses, and then follow up with that on how easy it is to get started using this.
Yeah, in the short amount of time we have today, Dave, we certainly have all the different services that we'll be touching upon, but certainly use that Q&A panel to let us know which service you're interested in the most or services, because we'd certainly like to come back and do a deep dive on those particular services that are most important to you. So let's go ahead and get underway.
Yeah, so Steve, why don't you give us a little lay of the land? What are we seeing with customer environments that especially Oracle customers?
Well, we're fresh out of Cloud World, and that was a very eye-opening experience. If you weren't there, very excited customers using the cloud, having mixed environments. And in the past, we used to encounter customers who might have just started using cloud. And as the polls reflected as we got started, Dave, over half of the people attending today have been using, it looks like, OCI for a couple of years now. So this is no surprise, is that our customers are dealing with mixed environments, still in their data center. It can be their data center in OCI, and it can be across different vendors' clouds. And in fact, that was some big announcements at Cloud World yet again, is we now have Oracle database services that are available in Azure and Google and AWS now. So this is what people are dealing with in their environment for being able to monitor and observe.
And I think this is just one small point on this. Are a lot of Oracle customers run production systems, production workloads, in a lot of cases are large enterprise companies. And so they really do have these mixed environments. And as you mentioned, the announcements at Cloud World partnering with other clouds, you can take this and then also, right, you have then, AWS, Amazon and Azure and GCP, right? So you have all these other clouds as well that are a part of this equation.
And practically everywhere, there now are cloud data centers, whether they're actually Oracle's or through one of our partners that I just mentioned. Again, we are working at an astronomical rate of releasing new data centers worldwide. And so this is really aiding our customers, especially in areas where there's things to deal with like data sovereignty. Or there's also, some of the customers who can't necessarily use something public. And so we've got things such as our government services. So again, in addition to having large diversity in terms of, being mixed, we have this global nature that we have to be looking at when we're talking about, observability.
So one of the folks, right, one of the analyst groups that we spent a lot of time with at Cloud World this year was IDC. And I think IDC, captures it pretty nicely here. I know there's a lot of a lot of columns of stats here, but the one on the left, number one, cloud management services are the largest area of overspending reported by IT. I think this might be a little hard for some people to unpack, like what that means. What it means is our customers are spending money as part of their manageability, their observability solution. And they have been spending money in this area for decades, right? I mean, every customer has management tools out there. Now, a lot of them are heavily invested and they're on-premises tools that don't necessarily transcend into the cloud or are not built to be managed in a hybrid state or manage on other clouds. So there's a lot of things that get rolled up into this, but the point is everybody finds this critical and they need to spend money on this. And the second column here looks at where customers are in their initial adoption of maturity with observability. And so, over almost 3/4 of them are at the initial or intermediate. So, this is everyone's well within the journey, and they're spending money and they're trying to utilize and take advantage of this hybrid environment. And then, going into the last one, a lot of the observability tools, there's a lot of great tools out there. Some of them are the entire company focuses on just that particular layer of the stack and that tool. So they're finding that a lot of these tools are too focused and too narrow to really take advantage of when they're talking about how to manage their environment.
There was also other insights we got from customers at Cloud World is there are customers today that are starting to put together observability in silos, which is kind of a mistake from the IT operations management days. Certainly, we've spoken to development, DevOps type organizations at Cloud World, and for years they've been doing observability type things, but they've been deploying observability by silos, while sometimes IT operations is a laggard in those cases. We've also talked to some customers who are trying to take tools that they purchased 4 or 5 10 years ago and apply them towards this mixed environment we just spoke about a few moments earlier. And the problem was or is the technology was not designed for cloud. And so that's one of the reasons we're talking about observability management today being available from Oracle Cloud and natively part of it, not something that you just bolt on. Now, Oracle solutions can be deployed many different ways, and this is a customer advantage. The Oracle database, no matter whether I put it in my data center, whether I put it on the Oracle Cloud, whether I put it on Amazon's, whether I put it on Azure, whether I put it on Google, it is the same Oracle database. I don't have to retrain people, to deal with it. I don't need separate tools. For instance, if I run the Oracle database on the Google Cloud and I run the Oracle database on, the Oracle Cloud, I don't need 2 separate tools. And this is a distinction across our Oracle technologies. We want the customer have a seamless experience no matter where the technology is running, inclusive of observability. And so this is part of our development plans. This is how we're progressing the releases of the products, adding new support, new functionality that helps our customers with observability. And I think, Dave, it's about every 6 weeks we have new things becoming available with the services.
Well, yes, it's not even, how fast we're releasing new capabilities with the services, but to your point, it's been part of the DNA and the design of our observability and management solution for I'd say 8 to 10 years. We've been working with cloud services, and we've been building it this whole time to be able to work on multiple clouds.
Now, because of all these changes in industry, there are companies that are reevaluating a lot of technology tool debt they've accumulated over the years. In the earlier IT days, everyone had an application monitoring tool. They'd buy an APM tool. They would buy a database monitoring tool. They'd buy a network monitoring tool. They'd buy a system monitoring tool. All these individual parts of the organization would have their monitoring tool. And the challenge was, and still is today for some using some of those older technologies, is they tell you after something has happened, something bad has gone wrong. Now you're trying to fix that. But first, you have to find out what's going on. And many of our customers told us they were never able to really connect those different tools together. The old best of breed days, while it was nice for the individual using it, it didn't really give them encompassing or end-to-end observability. In fact, it just told them after something bad had happened. And so customers don't want to know after something has occurred, AKA the customer calls and says, hey, something's running slow. And now you go look into it. Customers want to know as it's happening. And so that's where observability comes in. And so observability is analogous to, going and see your physician. You're having your annual cholesterol check, your physical, checkups. During the year, you're being checked out by your physician to make sure something bad doesn't happen to you. And so based upon this type of, new type of need within the industry, customers are reevaluating a lot of this technology tool debt. In fact, one of the industry analysts, Dave, told us some folks had up to like 51 different tools, which is just, mind-boggling. And so what we want to definitely talk about today is how to get that full view or end-to-end observability when you're using Oracle technologies.
And Steve, let me just twist this a little bit on a perspective, right? I'm a persona, I'm a developer. What does this mean for me, right? What's the advantage of the observability approach versus monitoring for somebody who I'm just going in and creating an application and I want it to be running performant and I want it to be secure. How does this help me?
And it looks like we've got a question that has come in, and it's related to EBS. So Dave, we obviously have a strategy. We've been kind of setting up for that. So why don't you just touch upon that real briefly?
Yeah, I'll make this quick because for those who are using Oracle Enterprise Manager today, you know who you are. This solution has been Oracle's flagship manageability tool for decades, and it is something that is actively being developed and actively being released. In fact, we have Enterprise Manager 24 releasing later this year. So we're very excited about that. And if you're an existing Enterprise Manager customer, you can continue to use Enterprise Manager to manage all of your deep red Oracle stack and third party and be able to manage it on premises in a hybrid cloud state and also third-party clouds. And so the idea is you don't have to switch tools just because you're using Enterprise Manager. Enterprise Manager is modernized to be able to handle this. Now, if you say, I don't know what Enterprise Manager is, I don't have anything to do with it, that's great. We have the observability and management, which we're focusing on today, the OCI O&M services. And so this is a complete set of services that allows you to do everything from monitor, the cutting edge of your app to all of your database administration and performance needs and understanding the entire stack and all the different pieces about it. Even though it is a cloud service, it can also manage your on-premises environment. It can manage on OCI, and then it can also manage in a multi-cloud environment. And so as we were talking by design, this is something that we built into the DNA of the observability and management as part of the strategy to be able to span those. So even as applications might have pieces on other clouds, it can still be monitored by OCI Observability and Management.
Great. Thanks, Dave.
And so when we look at, what is the observability and management platform? There are a lot of services out there, but if you start with, OCI is the foundation for our platform for observability and management. So what can it do? As we've said, looking at the bottom layer, we can run on, OCI and manage workloads and environments on OCI, as well as Azure and Google Cloud and Amazon Web Services and on premises. And so the idea is you have a single solution that you can handle wherever you are in your cloud journey or multi-cloud journey. Now, within the observability and management suite of tools, there are a lot more services than we have on the slide. And we don't, maybe in another session, we could spend time going through the whole breadth of them. But the idea is you have foundational services that is your daily blocking and tackling, right? Monitoring of all of your environment, of what's happening, all of your having notifications and alarms, collecting all the unstructured logging data that's telemetry that's being released, being able to stream that and understand your resources and be able to manage through Resource Manager. Then we have the layer of advanced services. And the poll that you guys told us about earlier showed that the most experience was down at the foundational layer. The advanced services are very mature services that can each be, it's an entire solution, right? So you could have your entire APM performance monitoring solution and only use that to manage your application. And you'd be able to see everything from end user experience at the top of the application all the way down to what are the SQL calls that the application's making on the database, and do, an enormous amount of application monitoring through traces, through transaction tracing, through monitors. So there's a lot of different options there. Now, the nice thing is these services, though, can be run individually, they work stronger together. So we have APM, which I just talked about. Then we have stack monitoring that looks at the entire stack. It takes a step back. It says, what are the components of this stack? And okay, if I know this component, then it's up and it's running and it's healthy. And here's the kind of the out-of-box monitoring. We want to do that and help with the discovery along with application performance monitoring. Logging analytics takes all the logs that you want to bring in and is constantly running algorithms against it. So you can start looking at, you could look at millions of lines of unstructured logs, and within a minute, we can cluster together likely scenarios and culprits where you might be having root cause analysis. So both looking at what are the top 8 reasons that Oracle, because Oracle has a lot of knowledge about all the different Oracle layers and products in your environment, as well as we do all types of logs for all various types of components in your environment, in your ecosystem. But being able to do that, look at outliers, being able to do transaction tracing of log, transaction ID across different layers of the stack and even into, multiple clouds. Database management service. This is pretty key for all of your database needs. As Steve was saying, regardless of where you run the Oracle database, the database management service allows you to do everything from, as I said, running administrative type tasks, users and and permissions, to doing real in-depth performance analysis and being able to look at high-cost SQL, all of your diagnostics and tuning. All those capabilities are in the database management service. And then lastly, Ops Insights. This goes into the advanced version of what you can do for database. It gives you up to 25 months in your review mirror of performance data that you can then do accurate capacity planning, long-term SQL, high-cost SQL analysis, and all kinds of things that you don't get to do in your day-to-day kind of firefighting life. So wasn't as quick as I wanted, Steve, but I think these are important, services to point out.
Yeah, we may have to pick up the pace, and man, the questions started coming in, and Dave, you touched upon this real briefly. People definitely in development, DevOps are very familiar with the term melts. And we've added the extra layer of observability down to the SQL, which provides some very interesting capabilities. For example, when you're trying to find a security threat, being able to see an active transaction and where that is coming from is much better than just a tool that's saying, hey, you're getting attacked. Your security team calls you up. We don't know who or what they're doing, but, can you kind of maybe check? And in fact, at Cloud World, there was a story shared when, in fact, that was an actual live thing that was happening at a site where there was a transaction that was an active bad actor trying to do something bad in the database. So we take Melt one level deeper, and we also encompass and include the ability to look at the SQL. Now, we had this question come in first, and again, whether you're running eBusiness Suite on your premises currently, or you've moved it onto IaaS or passive Oracle Cloud, you can use observability management for that. You can also get full stack observability by using the APM and stack monitoring solutions. And you can even get deeper insight and perform log analysis using logging analytics. And then Dave, we also have the database management service taking care of the database that, EBS sits on. So
Yeah,
it's really a full solution.
it really is. And, I realize that nobody shops at the service level, but it's important to know when you bring these together, this is how the design is meant to work. You have an application, e-business suite, that has lots of layers and complexity to it. We have, I talked about application performance monitoring at the top layer and handling all the transaction, real end user experience, the database layer through the database management service, bringing in all the logs that are being generated, which EBS generates quite a bit, and understanding the structure of how e-business suite works to be able to identify where there's root cause analysis and where there's trouble in the application.
The other thing we know is our customers, as they bring EBS onto OCI, are bringing custom integrations, and usually they're using Oracle Integration Cloud. So we're continuing to add new functionality that gives broader and deeper visibility into OIC. We also spurred another question, Dave. What about other applications? Most certainly, that's part of our plan and strategy, is other Oracle packaged applications and Oracle applications. We've got observability, at the database layer, at the infrastructure layer in OCI, and certainly in the application as well. And we're bringing that together. So
Yeah.
that's just one example, but also solution-wise, we have customers that have engineered systems technology, Dave, and especially now running in these other cloud vendors. You want to touch upon that?
Yeah, I think it's exciting to, as folks find different ways to deploy Exadata technology, that they're able to both monitor performance and use it efficiently, but then also be able to handle capacity planning, which is a real use case on these, because these high-powered machines, you certainly don't want to run out of capacity. And the capacity planning looks at resource utilization, both low and high, and figures out where you can relocate workloads, and gives you really rich forecasting to know exactly how long you have and which parts are concerning. So again, this is an example of using multiple services together, right? The database management service, as well as the Ops Insight service. So you can look at real-time data performance, how the databases are running in your Exa solution, as well as kind of longer term analysis.
And the solutions continue. So let's just do a real quick demo for folks. I noticed that a number of folks were not familiar with some of the advanced services. So I'm just going to real quickly give you a demonstration of how easy it is to get started with OCI APM, which is one of our leading products, whether you're working in development or whether you're working in an application team. So let's go ahead and I'll show that here real quickly. And right here already in the OCI console, we just go to Observability Management and you choose Application Performance Monitoring. And here you get all in one view, some pre-built dashboards. Of course, there's custom ones, but in this case, we've got EBS represented. And you get the key metrics about EBS all brought together in one place. And so this really is where our solutions are really so easy to use. So Dave, how about some customers and what they're doing with some of the observability management solutions? You want to talk to that?
So, we had as Steve mentioned at Cloud World, there was really good energy, and for everybody that was able to make it, I hope that they got a lot out of it. But the nice thing is these conversations that happen here are continuing on every day, right? And we're continuing to learn from our customers and about each other, right? Learning about what our capabilities and our services are. So we had, I ran an expert panel that brought in some pretty experienced users of observability and management, and even some of them have some enterprise manager history. But Enbridge, which is one of the North America's leading gas providers and the leading utility in in Canada talked a lot about their moving of eBusiness Suite and being able to monitor eBusiness Suite and get insight into performance issues at the database level, at the application level, and be able to get a dashboard where they wake up and that's what they look at in the morning. TaylorMade is also a packaged apps customer that is using observability and management, and basically they took a very sensible approach by taking, here are our top 5 use cases. Here's what we really need to tackle, and going in and applying those 5 use cases and getting those in through using different services and bringing it together in dashboards to get views for it. Sai, who won the OCI Architect of the Year award at Cloud World this year in Las Vegas, he talked a lot about his customers that are using observability management, and a lot of them, and some government ones I can't mention, but they're using it for managing their workloads on multi-cloud, right? So they have multiple clouds that they need to manage, and they were unaware that observability management was able to do that. And so that's now part of their solution. And then lastly, we had Connor McDonald. And if you don't know Connor, he's a 20 plus year veteran and expert in database performance. And so it's fun to hear Connor's perspective of the ever evolving role of the DBA and DevOps and IT ops and what it means today. And so it was a fun panel of people to get together. We had lots of customers afterwards coming up and talking to us, and still have meetings following up, to today from running that session.
Yeah, and to our earlier point when we started this session, some of these folks were using some of those known observability tools, and they just were not successful. And so they switched over to OCI O&M. So yeah, it was a wonderful session. Well, Dave, I know we've got very large, retailer here in the bakery industry that is, getting some great results using OCI Observability Management for bringing together their different application metrics, traces, and logs. And that's helping them improve things 5x, which means a lot in the retail circles. We've got, Cognizant was front and center at Cloud World. Oh my gosh, they were everywhere, and they're probably our biggest packaged PeopleSoft customer. They use it for their own business, and they've moved PeopleSoft onto OCI, and they're using observability management, to keep it, running, and their business and their customers' businesses.
And Steve, I think one of the questions in the beginning was, what about, other applications besides eBusiness Suite, right? So here's a great example that they were able to utilize this on a global deployment of PeopleSoft.
Exactly. We also have another company who's using it within their DevOps environments, and also with their DBAs getting 75% improvement. So this is where, again, those earlier statistics, you're using tools in silos, you're not able to correlate things together. You got people pointing the fingers at each other. You can get some significant savings and significant optimization using OCI O&M. And we've got a customer that is very unique. They actually are delivering a security information and event management solution utilizing logging analytics to their customers. So we've got partners doing, wonderful things also with OCI O&M and delivering some very new innovations. But the last one I want to leave with, just Dave, if you can kind of recap,
Sure.
Oracle and our own ops team.
Yes, many times our most difficult customer is ourself. And, the Oracle SaaS team, the DevOps team that runs Oracle SaaS, utilizes Oracle technology underneath. And so, as you can see here, we've listed a few examples for APM, for logging analytics and database management cloud service with over 40,000 databases. But more importantly, utilizing these gets you, they're seeing an 80% faster results in minimizing customer impact. They're having a 20% lower effort to get to root cause, which is, the answer to everything. And then, as they bring on, right, this is everybody's scenario where you bring on additional growth, but you don't need to ramp up all of your additional resources and bring on new staff to be able
But
to.
but Dave, here's what's more impressive. Look at this. 50 billion. That's a B traces a day.
Right. So, like I said, depending on who the user is and what your role is, maybe you're not the person purchasing the solution for observability, but you're a developer and you're using it, right? This is Oracle's scalability capability, which is really important to know because both from SaaS and for customer bases, whether you're small or big, it has been designed to be able to handle a whole lot of data, right? 10,000 plus customers, 18 million queries a week, 50 million monitors. I mean, it is just a ton of scale handling, all across all these areas, right? All of this
Yep.
different telemetry is just it, right? You have
It's
unstructured, structured data, all kinds of telemetry here.
Yep, it's built on OCI. We want to make sure that if you're using OCI today, you know where to find the services. So right here, you go into your cloud console, you go to observability management again. And as I had showed earlier, APM takes you right in there for your application performance monitoring needs. You can get that dashboard. In this case, we had set this one up for EBS, but you can set it up for your own cloud native apps. To get that stack monitoring view back under O&M, we've gone under stack monitoring. Now I see all the components of my application, not just an application view by itself. And I'm also able to get the observability management logging analytics portion where I can do more than OCI logging. This is where I can get that real power of doing that analysis using that machine learning powered by AI. Discover all sorts of things in typically minutes that you just can't do manually. Finding those needles in a haystack, finding those anomalies, security threats. There's a lot in logging analytics. So certainly you want to try that out as one of the services under observability management, lots of power. We'll return back here to the menu. We've got two more services, Ops Insights Dave spoke about. This is where there's the capacity planning capability. Getting SQL insights. People still today do this with spreadsheets, amazingly, and using the power of machine learning. The cloud is a perfect place to bring together, all of the different information and what's going on, and being able to do that capacity planning. And lastly, here we've got the database management service where my fleet of databases is all in one view, and I'm able to get diagnostic information, being able to get observability across that fleet of databases, all again available from essentially the OCI console. So that being said, one last thing, Dave, and we'll wrap this up.
Yeah.
Obviously, AI was front and center at Cloud World.
AI was front and center. If anything, a little bit bullish up front. But it's important because it's everybody is going to be utilizing AI in their solutions and as part of and as this IDC studies, right? And in a year and a half, 75% of large enterprises will rely on AI infused process. So AI ops, Gen AI, the whole variety. How is that going to affect us, right? And so if you can go to the next slide, we're obviously, so we're building in, we have lots of AI in the product today. And, even looking back for the last 20 years, we've been building expert systems that say, hey, here's what we found. Here's what we recommend you do. And it's based on this data, right? Which is very important to be able to trust the data that you're getting, the recommendations that you're getting. So we've talked a lot about melts and all the ability, but being able to collect all those different types of telemetry and bring it together, run AI against it, be able to do all types of analyzing, clustering, linking, smart baselining, seasonality, pattern recognition, and so on, gives you the ability to then go in and start to predict, right? Understand resource utilization. Where are things going to potentially have errors? Recommended SQL plan changes, very, very Oracle centric, and some of these that nobody else does, but then also being able to look at it as, as a whole in your environment. And then lastly, the generate, right? So having a natural language interface and being able to generate either, a dynamic set of dashboards to answer a question or be able to interact with across many different services. So for an example, here's an example of a Gen AI ability for the observability assistant, right? So, okay, I want to look at this, but let's say in APM, it has somewhat of its own language to really get into the nuts and bolts. Logging analytics is the same. If I want to come in and use a Gen AI powered assistant, I can come in and say, hey, why is the manufacturing app slow? Well, it's going to look across all the different services and provide that information. What kind of network traffic patterns do I have? Right? Can I get Ops Insight news reports via email, helping you use the tool more efficiently, and then also being able to spread and give you knowledge and recommendations from multiple services within the observability and management platform, and even the OCI platform.
So Dave, we're getting some good questions, so we'll get to some resources here in just a minute to help those folks out. Again, we've got some accolades coming from the industry analyst community, and we continue to work on getting more. And just to kind of summarize before we wrap up with those resources, OCI O&M, it's available in the OCI console. So if you're using OCI today, it's available to you to start using, the moment you get off this phone call. And the services are already integrated together. It's not like you have to do all this integration yourself. And I say that because there are some cloud vendors and some tools where you have to do that. Again, observability management covers what's in your data center you currently have now, a combination of it and what you may have in OCI, and across other vendors' clouds. So all three. Again, this is an Oracle customer advantage. And it covers end-to-end the entire application stack because we've instrumented observability in the platform and our other products, applications, databases, and the list goes on. So those are the key things to remember after today's webcast. But here's where you get started. So first off is Oracle Live Labs. This is available 24/7 by 365. There is a workshop on every single one of the services we did not have time to dive into. We'd certainly love to come back and do that. So that's one way to try this out and to learn the products firsthand. Also on the oracle.com/manageability website, there you can scroll down and you can see the different types of pricing. We call them t-shirt pricing, things from the free tier to small, medium, large. They're available there. We also have some very short how-to videos, 2-3 minutes long, showing you how to accomplish things using different OCI O&M services. We put out about 2 blogs a week from our PMs, best practices, solving business challenges, customers talking about how they've been able to do some very innovative things, managing things that have OIC, for instance, a number of the questions that have been asked. So definitely take a look at the blog site. There's a lot to learn there as well. And we continue to do more of these type of webinars. So we hope that you've learned at least one thing from our session today and how you can continue to learn using any of the OCI O&M services. And hey, if you get some really good results, let us know. We'd like to put you on a customer panel next year because the people at Cloud World really thought that was a stellar session. And there was some really great stories representing the companies that were there.
And
So
in this email below, the observability dash and management, this goes directly to us in product management. It bypasses all other parts of Oracle. So please reach out to us if you'd like to talk with us, or you have stories, or you'd like to take it further. One of the questions that just popped up was, questions are moving around. Sorry. Go ahead, Steve. Let me grab it.
Oh, that's fine. Well, we had one that was pending related to egress and ingress traffic. Well, in OCI Observability Management, if you're pulling in, if you're monitoring, your databases that are out in other clouds and bringing that into Observability Management, there is not a cost to, data coming in. Now, I'm not sure why there would be something for, egress versus ingress. So yeah, there is no extra fee as you're bringing data into observability management. There had also been a question, Dave. I know some folks on the different types of tiers. For instance, APM has a free tier, so you can use so much of its metrics.
Well, yeah,
I
and
think it is
let
per
me
month.
clarify on that, because that's the question I was going to
Okay.
pose. Is you don't have to go in and create a free tier. Oracle definitely has the free tier with services that are always free. What we're talking about is we have a free tier within, say, the application performance monitoring tool, where you can get a certain number of traces or a certain number of transactions that are always free. For logging analytics, if you stay under 10 gigabytes of log data, you're in the free tier within that service. So I just wanted to clarify, we have the ability, if you have an existing OCI account and you want to try some of these, take a look at the services. There's free pieces of them that you can use to try. Also, what Catherine mentioned on there and what Steve has talked about, Live Labs is wonderful because it's all pre-configured with use cases where you can go in and just learn the product, and that's all running on Oracle's backend.
Yeah, and for the people that said they don't have maybe OCI today, Live Labs is perfect because you don't have to have an OCI account to use Live Labs. It provides the environment for you. So again, today's goal was to provide learning, observability management, resources, and services, as well as solutions. I think in the short amount of time we had it available, Dave, we did that. And again, like to have a deep dive. I saw a lot of interest in logging analytics, for example, but again, certainly let us know, and we'd be happy to come back and maybe have one of the PMs go really deep on some of these, Dave.
And one more thing I want to point out, the number 4 here, attend observability and management webinars. Cloud World has a whole bunch of new content that only if you're in the room, you got to see it. We're rerunning our Cloud World sessions on the Observability and Management Insights webcast series. So I encourage you, when you get these resources and download the deck, go join that, and you can register for it and be alerted when we do these. But we're going to rerun these in the Cloud World sessions. So if you weren't able to see them, you can now.
Great. Okay. Well, we're a little bit, certainly there are more day one and beyond series, and Dave and I really appreciate you joining this one. But in terms of OCI Observability Management, that wraps it up for us today.
Right, awesome session. Thank you, Steve and David. Really appreciate your time and help with this session.
And again, I'm hoping, Olivia, everyone learned at least one new thing, at least one.
So our next session will be the cost management and governance quick start on October 15th. So in this session, you'll be introduced to the fundamentals of operating workloads on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure and how to start your account off correctly with best practices. So we hope to see you all then. Thanks everyone for joining.